The title of this speech is How to Vote, and it's 5 to 7 minutes. That's right, early riser Toastmasters and honored guest, you heard it right. In this speech, I am going to tell you how to vote. And my intention, in order to do that, is to inform you about a past presidential election that happened about 175 years ago, to identify then one of the crucial moral leadership issues in that election, and then invite you to think about that principle in terms of your own voting. So first, the historical past presidential election. The issue: slavery, and the annexation of Texas. For if Texas were to come into the Union, it would come in as a slave state, overthrowing the political balance in the country, giving the power to the slave-holding states. The candidates, one of the candidates was in favor of annexation. The second candidate was opposed to annexing Texas. Both candidates were slaveholders. That's important. Because of that fact, a third party decided to enter the election. They felt that two candidates that were slaveholders was morally unacceptable. And the candidate they offered, they believed, was morally pure on this issue. So they entered the contest. The results? The results were the third party took enough votes away from the person who opposed annexation so that the person who accepted and wanted annexation won the election. So Texas was annexed. That led to war with Mexico, and further dramatically increased the tensions in our country that moved us one step closer to civil war. The irony of this is that the third party, by taking their morally pure stand, accomplished just the opposite of what they wanted. The candidate who had opposed annexation would have been able to restrict the negative consequences of the issue while furthering the positive sides. But because of moral purity, the third party refused to vote in that direction, thereby undercutting the very issue that they wanted to. So what's the voting principle involved here? The way to look at that is to imagine if you were back voting in that election and asking yourself this question: do I now vote for the morally pure candidate, regardless of consequences? That is, both of those people are slaveholders. I can never, shall, will never vote for a slaveholder, regardless of consequences. Or do I vote on the basis of what some people call ethical responsibility? That's voting based on looking at the facts, analyzing complexities, trying to estimate probabilities of what might happen, and then making a choice. Even if that choice ended up making a vote for someone who had an opposing view on a very important moral issue than you, but yet who could still make enough positive contributions to make your vote an ethical one. So the question is, how would you vote? Could you vote the way of ethical responsibility? Could you ever vote for a person that held a view on a moral issue that was totally opposite of yours? Even if that person had many positive characteristics and possibly could advance things in a very positive way. I ask myself the same question. Could I vote that way? I've been what some people call an ethical idealist for a long time. That is, I've tried to consider moral issues when I'm thinking about voting. But the more I take a look at that stance, I wonder to myself if my desire for quote unquote moral impurity had more to do with maybe the sense of false moral superiority that such a position allegedly gave me. Ouch, if that's the case. But at any rate, the issue is not easy. It's not simple. There are many issues to be considered. It's not cut and dry at all in any way. But history teaches us, I think, that voting for a person who may be ethically responsible in spite of some of the opposite views they hold might produce a better result. So, how will you vote, Mr. Toastmaster?